My daughter-in-law secretly took out a $2 million life insurance policy on me. When I discovered she was poisoning my tea. Slowly, I switched our cups when she wasn't looking. The ceramic cup felt heavier than usual in my trembling hands as I stared at the lab results on my kitchen table. Arsenic. Low levels, but consistent exposure over the past 3 months. The toxicologist had been puzzled. Usually we see this in industrial accidents, Mr. Coleman. Are you exposed to any chemicals at work? I'm a 68-year-old retired teacher. The most dangerous chemical I encounter is expired milk in my refrigerator. But now I knew exactly where the poison was coming from. The afternoon tea my daughter-in-law Rachel lovingly prepared for me every single day since she and my son Michael moved in to take care of me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening from in the comments. 3 hours ago, I'd been at Dr. Morrison's office for what I thought would be routine blood work to investigate my recent fatigue and stomach problems. Now I sat in my own kitchen, the place where Rachel performed her daily ritual of attempted murder, trying to process that the woman my son married was slowly killing me for money. The insurance documents I'd found hidden in Rachel's drawer last week suddenly made horrifying sense. $2 million. She'd forged my signature 6 months ago, been paying the premiums from what she claimed was their emergency fund. I'd discovered it while looking for my reading glasses, but hadn't confronted her yet, thinking it was just financial planning gone wrong. Now I understood it was murder planning. My phone buzzed. Rachel's text. "Hi, Dad. Just picked up your favorite Earl Grey. We'll be home in 20 minutes for tea time." 20 minutes. I had 20 minutes to decide whether to call the police, confront her directly, or something else. My hands moved almost without thinking, pulling the arsenic test kit I'd bought on the way home from the doctor. If I was going to accuse my son's wife of attempted murder, I needed proof beyond my blood tests. But as I stood there, another thought crept in. Rachel didn't know I knew. She thought I was still the trusting, naive father-in-law who believed her devoted caregiver act. What if I used that against her? The front door opened 15 minutes later. Rachel's voice carried through the house, bright and cheerful as always. "Dad Coleman, I'm home. Ready for our tea?" "In the kitchen, dear," I called back, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Rachel entered with a grocery bag and her 1,000-watt smile. 32 years old, blonde, pretty in that calculated way that had first made me suspicious when Michael introduced her 4 years ago. She'd been working as a pharmaceutical sales rep, ironic considering her current extracurricular activity. "You look tired, Dad. Have you been resting like I told you?" She moved around my kitchen with practiced ease, filling the kettle, arranging the cups. The same routine every day for 3 months. "Just a bit worn out," I replied, watching her hands carefully. "The doctor says it's probably just my age catching up." "Nonsense. You're young at heart." She pulled out the new box of Earl Grey, but I noticed she also reached into her purse, palming something small. "I got the organic brand you like." I watched her prepare the tea with newfound awareness. The way she positioned her body to block my view when she poured. The subtle movement of her hand over my cup, not hers. The little stir she gave only to mine. "Sugar today?" she asked sweetly. "Just one, dear." She brought both cups to the table, setting mine in front of me with that concerned expression she'd perfected. "You really should see another doctor if you're not feeling better. Maybe someone younger, with fresh perspectives." "Someone who wouldn't catch chronic poisoning," she meant. "Perhaps you're right," I agreed, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. "This smells wonderful." She sat across from me with her own cup, watching expectantly. This was always the datant. She never drank until I did, making sure I consumed my dose. "Oh, before I forget," I said suddenly, standing up. "I have something to show you." That photo album from Michael's childhood I mentioned. Can it wait until after tea? Just take a second. It's right in the living room. I moved toward the door, then stopped. Actually, you're younger. Could you grab it? It's on the top shelf, and my arthritis is acting up. She hesitated, clearly not wanting to leave me alone with the cups, but refusing would seem odd. Of course, Dad. The day she left the room, I switched the cups. Quick, silent, my hands surprisingly steady. By the time her footsteps returned, I was seated again, my hands wrapped around what had been her cup. I couldn't find any album, she said, a slight edge to her voice. Oh, silly me. I must have moved it. Maybe it's upstairs. I lifted the cup to my lips, taking a small sip. Come, sit. The tea will get cold. She sat down slowly, eyes on my cup. I took another sip, larger this time. Perfect temperature, I said. You always make it just right. Rachel relaxed slightly and lifted her own cup. The first sip was small, tentative, then larger as we settled into our usual rhythm. She talked about grocery shopping, Michael's promotion at work, their plans to renovate the guest bathroom. Normal afternoon chatter while she watched me slowly drink my tea. You know, I said casually, reaching for a cookie, I've been thinking about my will. Rachel's cup paused halfway to her lips. Oh? Well, at my age, it's important to have things in order. I want to make sure you and Michael are taken care of. She took another sip, eager now. That's very thoughtful of you, Dad. I've actually been meaning to ask, did you and Michael ever get that life insurance sorted? I worry about you if something happened to him. We have coverage, she said quickly, then seemed to catch herself. Just basic stuff, nothing fancy. Good, good. These days you can never be too careful. I finished my tea and set down the empty cup. I think I'll go lie down for a bit. Good idea. You rest. Rachel's eyes tracked my movement as I stood, probably calculating how long today's dose would take to add to the accumulation in my system. But 30 minutes later, it wasn't me who was feeling unwell. I heard the crash from my bedroom, the sound of ceramic shattering on kitchen tile. I found Rachel on the floor, clutching her stomach, her face gray with sweat. Dad, she gasped, call 911. I knelt beside her, my face a mask of concern. What's wrong, dear? What happened? Something's wrong. My stomach. Must be food poisoning, I said calmly, not reaching for my phone. What did you have for lunch? Her eyes widened as a terrible understanding began to dawn. She looked at the broken cup, the spilled tea, then at me. You knew, she whispered. About the arsenic? Yes, dear. Found out this morning. Fascinating stuff, arsenic. In small doses, it mimics common illness. But a concentrated dose, the kind you'd need to kill someone quickly. I tilted my head. Well, that's much more dramatic. The cups, she gasped, retching. You switched them. Did I? How could you possibly know that unless you put something in one of them? The beautiful thing about arsenic is that it's cumulative. Rachel had been taking tiny doses for 3 months without knowing it. Every time she tested my tea with a small sip to make sure I was drinking it. Every time she licked the spoon after stirring. Not enough to hurt her, just enough to build up in her system. Today's dose, the concentrated one she'd prepared for me, was hitting a body already primed with 3 months of trace amounts. Please, she begged, reaching for her phone. I gently took it from her shaking hands. Let's talk first, I suggested, sitting cross-legged beside her writhing form. About that life insurance policy you took out on me. Her face, already pale, went white. How did you... I'm old, Rachel, not stupid, though you certainly counted on the latter. I pulled out the insurance documents from my pocket. Forged signatures, fake medical exams, premium payments from your secret account. Very thorough. Hospital, she gasped. Need Hospital. Inadadant. First, you're going to call the insurance company and cancel the policy. Then you're going to write a full confession. You're insane. No, dear. I'm a retired chemistry teacher who spent 30 years explaining exactly how poisons work to teenagers. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize the symptoms? Rachel tried to crawl toward the door, but another wave of cramps doubled her over. The dose she'd given herself was substantial. Not lethal, I calculated, but certainly memorable. Michael, she managed. He'll know. What you did. What did I do? Serve you tea you made yourself? Watch you drink from a cup you prepared? I stood up, looking down at her. Besides, Michael's not coming home tonight. Or any night. Fear flickered through her pain. What did you do to him? Nothing dramatic. Just showed him some interesting bank statements. Transfers from your personal account to someone named Derek. Your personal trainer, I believe? The one you've been seeing every Tuesday and Thursday while telling Michael you're at yoga? She stopped trying to speak, focusing on breathing through the pain. Oh yes, I've known about that too. You see, when I started feeling sick, I installed cameras. Everywhere. The things you and Derek discussed in my living room while Michael was at work. Very illuminating. Especially the part about getting rid of both of us and running away together with the insurance money. Rachel's breathing was getting shallower. Time to move things along. I didn't actually want her dead, just scared enough to confess. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my teacher voice taking over. I'm going to call 911 in exactly 5 minutes. You're going to tell them you accidentally poisoned yourself while trying to poison me. You're going to confess everything. They'll arrest you too, she gasped, for poisoning me. With what poison? The one you brought into my house? The one only your fingerprints are on? The one you purchased using your credit card from that chemical supply company? I smiled. I may be old, but I've watched enough true crime to know about evidence chains. I pulled out my phone, showing her the recording app. This conversation is being recorded, by the way, along with all the others. 3 months of you discussing my declining health with Derek, planning my death, celebrating how weak I was getting. Rachel made one last attempt at manipulation. Dad, please, I'm sorry. I was desperate. Michael and I have debt. Michael has no debt. I paid off his student loans last year. You have debt. From gambling, from shopping, from living a lifestyle you couldn't afford. I started dialing 911. 4 minutes now. I'll die, she whimpered. No, you'll wish you had. Prison inmates don't like people who poison old ladies. 3 minutes? Rachel's face cycled through pain, fear, and finally defeat. I'll confess, she whispered. Just call them now, please. Full confession? The insurance? The poisoning? All of it? She nodded weakly. And Derek? He knew about everything? Another nod. I dialed 911, my voice shifting to panicked elderly woman. Please help. My daughter-in-law is very sick. She's been poisoning my tea, but I think she accidentally drank it herself. Please hurry. The ambulance arrived in 7 minutes. By then, Rachel was barely conscious but stable. The police came with them, standard procedure for poisoning cases. I handed them everything. The insurance documents, the test results from my doctor, the vial of arsenic I'd found in Rachel's purse, and most importantly, her written confession she'd scrawled while waiting for the ambulance. Michael arrived at the hospital an hour later. My son, my sweet, trusting son, who'd inherited his father's gentle nature and my stubborn streak. He looked destroyed. Dad, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I know, sweetheart. I hugged him tight. She fooled us both. The police said she's been poisoning you for months, that she and Derek planned to kill you for insurance money. 3 months, I confirmed. Started right after I had them move in to help me. Michael sat heavily in the waiting room chair. She used me. Our marriage, moving in with you, all of it was just to get close enough to kill me, yes. But Michael, this isn't your fault. Psychopaths are excellent at mimicking normal people. She fooled everyone. Not you. Not in the end. I sat beside him, taking his hand. Chemistry teachers notice things, like when their tea tastes slightly metallic, when their symptoms match textbook arsenic poisoning, when their daughter-in-law insists on making tea the exact same way every single day. How long have you known? Suspected for 3 weeks. Confirmed it this morning with blood tests. The switched cups was improvisation. Michael was quiet for a datant. She could have killed you. She was trying to. Slowly, carefully, making it look like natural decline. If I hadn't been a chemistry teacher, if I hadn't recognized the symptoms, she would have succeeded. What happens now? Now she goes to prison. Attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. Derek, too. The police picked him up an hour ago. He had a bag packed and plane tickets to Costa Rica. And you? Chelation therapy to get the arsenic out of my system, then back to my normal life, minus the attempted murder. Michael laughed bitterly. Normal, right. We sat in silence for a while, watching hospital staff move through their routines. Finally, Michael spoke again. The house feels different now. Tainted. Then we'll sell it. Get you a fresh start somewhere else. What about you? I squeezed his hand. I'm thinking of moving to one of those senior communities, the kind with activities and security, and most importantly, a cafeteria, where I don't have to worry about anyone poisoning my food. Dad, you don't have to. I want to. This experience taught me something important. I've been too trusting, too willing to see the best in people. Maybe it's time to be around people my own age who just want to play cards and complain about their grandchildren. You don't have grandchildren to complain about. Yet. But when you're ready, after you've healed from this, you'll meet someone worthy of you. Someone who loves you for you, not for what they can take from you. Michael leaned his head on my shoulder, something he hadn't done since he was 12. How do you trust anyone after this? Carefully, I admitted. But trust isn't binary, sweetheart. It's earned in increments, tested constantly, adjusted as needed. I trusted Rachel too quickly because she was your wife. I ignored red flags because I wanted you to be happy. What red flags? The way she isolated you from your friends. How she always needed to know where you were. The mysterious expenses she couldn't explain. Her insistence on moving in with me when you both had good jobs. I thought she was being caring. Caring doesn't require control. Love doesn't demand surveillance. And genuine concern doesn't come with life insurance policies. A doctor approached us. Dr. Morrison, the same one who discovered my poisoning. Mr. Coleman, good news. The levels in your system are manageable. A few weeks of treatment and you'll be fine. And Rachel? She'll recover. The dose she ingested was significant, but not lethal. She's conscious, and the police are taking her statement now. After he left, Michael stood up. I should see her. Why? To ask why. To understand how someone I loved could do this. She'll lie, Michael. Even now, even caught, she'll try to manipulate you. I know, but I need to see her as she really is, not as I imagined her to be. I understood that need for closure. I'll come with you. Rachel looked small in the hospital bed. IVs running into both arms, monitors tracking her vitals. The police officer by her door nodded as we entered. Her eyes tracked to Michael first, tears immediately welling. Baby, I'm so sorry. I was sick, depressed. I didn't mean... Stop, Michael said quietly. Just stop. Dad showed me the text with Derek, the photos, the plans you made. 3 months of plotting to kill my mother. Rachel's tears dried instantly, her face hardening. Your precious mother isn't as innocent as she seems. She poisoned me. With your own poison, I pointed out, that you prepared yourself. You switched the cups. Prove it. She turned back to Michael. She's controlling you. She always has. That's why I had to what? Murder her? Steal $2 million? Michael's voice rose. I loved you, Rachel. I defended you to everyone who said you were only after money. I did love you, she said. But even that sounded calculated. Number you loved what I represented. Security, respectability, access to my mother's house. He pulled out divorce papers from his jacket. Sign these. Michael, please. Sign them or I'll make sure every detail of what you did becomes public. Every employer, every future partner, everyone will know you're an attempted murderer. Rachel signed without reading them, her hand shaking with rage more than weakness. As we left, she called out one last manipulation. Your mother's a killer too, Michael. She knew that dose could kill me. I turned back, my teacher voice calm and clinical. Actually, Rachel, I calculated the dose, precisely. Unpleasant, but not lethal. For someone your weight with 3 months of trace buildup. You see, unlike you, I understand chemistry. I know exactly how much arsenic it takes to kill someone versus how much it takes to make them wish they were dead. You're insane. No, dear. I'm educated. There's a difference. The trial was swift. Rachel's confession, the evidence, Derek's testimony against her to get a lighter sentence, it all painted a clear picture. She got 15 years for attempted murder, plus 5 for fraud. Derek got 7 years as an accomplice. The insurance company voided the policy and pursued Rachel for fraud. Her assets were seized to pay restitution. The house she'd coveted was sold to cover my medical bills and therapy. Michael struggled for months. Therapy helped, but trust once shattered, rebuilds slowly. He moved to Portland for a fresh start, taking a job with a tech company. We talk every week, sometimes about Rachel, mostly about other things. Healing happens in small doses, like poison in reverse. I did move to that senior community, Sunset Gardens, a name so cliché it circles back to charming. My apartment overlooks a pond where ducks gather each morning. I've made friends who know nothing about the attempted murder, who just see me as Robert, who teaches chemistry to local high school students twice a week. But I'm different now. Cautious in ways I never was before. I test my food, not for poison, but the habit remains. I notice details. Who has access to my space? Who handles my drinks? Who asks too many questions about my finances? The other residents think I'm paranoid. They don't understand that paranoia saved my life. 6 months after the trial, I received a letter from prison. Rachel's handwriting, which I recognized from 3 months of forged signatures. Dear Mr. Coleman, I hope this letter finds you in poor health. Every day in here, I think about how you outsmarted me, how you turned my own weapon against me. I underestimated you, and that was my mistake. But you made a mistake, too. You let me live. I have 12 more years to plan what happens when I get out. 12 years to think about you, about Michael, about everything you took from me. You may have won this round, but the game isn't over. Sleep well, Robert. Every night, know that I'm thinking of you. Rachel. I showed the letter to the police, who added it to her file. Threats from prison carry additional charges, and Rachel had just earned herself another 3 years. But the letter revealed something important. She hadn't learned anything. Still thought this was a game. Still believed she was the victim. Still imagined revenge would solve her problems. I wrote back. my teacher's instinct to educate overwhelming my better judgment. Dear Rachel, thank you for the letter. It's been forwarded to the authorities and will be used in your next parole hearing. You're right that I made a mistake, but not the one you think. My mistake was being too trusting, too eager to welcome you into our family, too willing to ignore red flags because they were wrapped in smiles. You have 15 years to plan revenge. I have 15 years to live my life, watch Michael heal, maybe see real grandchildren, teach more students, make more friends. Every sunrise I see is one you won't. Every meal I eat isn't monitored by guards. Every door I walk through, I can walk back through freely. That's the difference between us, Rachel. You're thinking about me. I'm not thinking about you at all. Regards, Robert Coleman, P.S. The chemistry teacher position at the prison is open. I've recommended you stay away from that classroom. The instructor knows all about arsenic. I never heard from her again. Michael met someone 2 years later. Jennifer, a social worker who understood trauma, who moved slowly, who earned trust rather than demanding it. Their wedding was small, just family and close friends. No elaborate ceremonies, no expensive displays, just genuine love between two people who'd learned to be careful with their hearts. When Jennifer asked me about Rachel, I told her the truth, all of it. She listened without judgment, then said something that stayed with me. Rachel taught you both that love without verification is just vulnerability. Now you know to verify. She was right. Every relationship now comes with gentle verification. Not suspicion, but awareness. Not paranoia, but prudence. I still make tea every afternoon. Earl Grey, no sugar, prepared by my own hands in my own kitchen. Sometimes I catch myself checking the color, the smell, the taste. Habits that will probably never fully fade. But I drink it anyway, because Rachel doesn't get to steal tea from me, along with everything else she tried to take. The senior community has a chemistry club now. I teach them about household chemicals, their uses and dangers. Last week's topic was common poisons. What they look like, how they work, how to recognize symptoms. Why would we need to know this? Asked Martha, a 75-year-old former librarian. Because knowledge is power, I replied. And at our age, we can't afford to be powerless. They think I'm being dramatic. They don't know about the 3 other residents who've had mysterious intestinal issues since new caregivers were hired. They don't know I've been testing the community water supply and finding irregularities. They don't know that Rachel wasn't unique, just caught. After the chemistry club, I met with the community director, showed him my findings, suggested mandatory background checks for all caregivers, proposed installing cameras in common areas. Mr. Coleman, don't you think you're being a bit paranoid? Director Thompson, paranoia is when you imagine threats that don't exist. Prudence is when you recognize patterns others ignore. 3 residents with sudden illness, all wealthy, all with new caregivers? That's a pattern. Authorize the background checks. 2 caregivers failed and were dismissed. The mysterious illnesses stopped. I've become the unofficial watchdog of Sunset Gardens. The woman who notices things, who asks uncomfortable questions, who carries test strips in her purse. Some residents avoid me, thinking I'm difficult. Others seek me out, grateful someone's paying attention. Michael visits monthly, Jennifer too when she can. They're expecting their first child, a daughter. They've asked me to be involved, to be the grandmother I always wanted to be. But carefully, Michael always adds with a sad smile. Trust but verify, right? Right, I agree, though it breaks my heart that my son has to think that way. The nursery they're preparing has a video monitor, a lock on the door, and they've already interviewed 12 potential babysitters with full background checks. Some would call it excessive. I call it learning from experience. Rachel's parents reached out once, asking for forgiveness for their daughter's actions. I met them for coffee, saw their genuine pain and confusion. They'd raised her normally, they insisted. No abuse, no trauma, no explanation for what she'd become. Sometimes, I told them, people are just broken. Not because of what happened to them, but because of what didn't happen inside them. Empathy, conscience, human connection. Some people are born without these things, and they learn to fake them until they don't need to anymore. They cried. I didn't. My tears for that situation had dried up long ago. Derek was released after 5 years, good behavior and testimony against Rachel. He sent a letter apologizing, claiming Rachel had manipulated him. I didn't respond. Apologies from conspirators are just another form of manipulation. The insurance company conducted an investigation after everything came to light. Turns out Rachel had done this before. A previous elderly employer who died of natural causes after changing their will. The case was reopened, Rachel charged with additional murder, her sentence extended to life without parole. Michael took it hard knowing he'd married a serial killer. Jennifer held him through the nightmares, the therapy sessions, the daydens when trust seemed impossible. I taught them both what I'd learned. Trust is not a gift. It's a loan with interest, requiring constant verification of value. Now, 5 years after that fateful tea time, I sit in my apartment at Sunset Gardens, watching the ducks on the pond. My health is good. The arsenic left no permanent damage beyond a heightened awareness of everything I consume. The chemistry club has grown to 30 members. We've exposed 2 more cases of elder abuse, 1 Ponzi scheme targeting residents, and a staff member stealing medications. The director calls us the Coleman Brigade. Part joke, part genuine respect. My phone rings. Michael, with video chat so I can see my granddaughter Emma, now 6 months old. She has my eyes and Jennifer's smile, and parents who will protect her with educated paranoia born from experience. Hi, Dad, Michael says. Emma's trying solid food today. I watch Jennifer carefully prepare the organic baby food, testing temperature, checking consistency. Some would say she's overcautious. I say she's appropriately careful. She's beautiful, I tell them, and lucky to have parents who understand that love means protection, not just affection. Thanks to you, Michael says. You taught us that survival isn't paranoid, it's smart. I had a good teacher, I reply, though we both know I mean Rachel. She taught me more about human nature in 3 months than my previous 68 years combined. After the call, I make my afternoon tea. Earl Grey, no sugar, prepared by my own hands. I test it from habit, then drink it slowly while writing in my journal. A new habit, documenting each day in case something happens and evidence is needed. Today's entry is simple. 5 years poison-free. Trust but verify. Still alive. The sun sets over the pond, painting the water gold. Somewhere, Rachel sits in a cell, planning revenge she'll never achieve. Derek lives in fear, knowing what he participated in. Michael and Jennifer build a careful life, protected by knowledge. And I sit here, an old woman who learned that the most dangerous poisons come wrapped in smiles and promises, served by those who claim to love you. But I also learned that education, awareness, and a chemistry degree can save your life in ways you never expect. Tomorrow, the chemistry club is learning about ricin. Martha asked why we need to know about something so deadly. Because, I'll tell them, the difference between medicine and poison is dosage. And the difference between victim and survivor is knowledge. Rachel thought she was poisoning a naive old woman. Instead, she poisoned herself with her own arrogance, never realizing that some old women have spent decades teaching others about exactly the weapon she chose. The irony is sweeter than any tea. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.